So hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to our summer 2026 info presentation. My name is Cristian Toscano. I am program coordinator here at El Terreno in Atandahua, and we are broadcasting live from the beautiful Ecuadorian Andes, especially from the community of Atandahua in Bolivar province, where we are working here at El Terreno. And today is going to be a practical session. First, our founder and director, Joshua Holmes, will talk about our summer programs, gender equality, architecture, and also journalism. Then we have a very special segment. We have invited two of our current interns to share their experience. We have Aranzazu, an architect, and Ailid, who is working in our gender initiative, and also we have Robin, who is helping in this project. And finally, we will open the floor for questions to answer every single of your questions. So thank you so much. And Joshua, you can start.
Thank you, Christian. Hello, everyone. Nice to have you with us here today in this webinar. This is actually the first information webinar we've done before, so looking forward to, for those who are watching this, getting the opportunity to find out a little bit more about our programs. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. So we'll try to keep this fairly efficient and yeah, provide as much value as we can for the time we've got. So a little presentation I'm going to share with you. Okay. Okay, assuming you can all see my presentation at this point. So, welcome to El Terreno's internship program, focused on making you an international change maker. What we're going to talk about today is talk a little bit about the background and the context of where we work, and then talk a little bit briefly about the El Terreno organizations, you know, what our purpose is, what our mission is, then talk more specifically about the internship programs and how it works in general, and then a bit of a focus on the summer projects that we've already got interns coming to participate. Robin, who's on the call, also Zoe, nice to have you here. And we will also then talk about what's included within the program and next steps if you're interested in participating. So my name's Joshua Holmes. I'm from England. This is a picture of my partner, Karina. She's from Ecuador, from the capital, Quito. And there in her belly, you can see Liam, who's now 4 years old. This was actually our little trip to the Amazon. And Karina's mum had said that there's a rumor that if you go to the Amazon and you see monkeys while you're pregnant, they come out as monkeys, the baby. And Liam, arguably so, is definitely a monkey. He's got a lot of energy, that's for sure. So yeah, as I said, I'm from England. I grew up in a white middle-class community, could have followed a very conventional career path, but I've always been inspired to come to South America at some point. And so I came over and met Karina in 2013 while I was backpacking, and fell in love with the people and the culture and the landscapes here in this beautiful continent. There's so much to see, so much to do. But I found that just being a tourist, not so meaningful. I really like to get to know communities and I like to get involved with projects. So I came back to England with that question: how could I continue to live out here? And a few years later, after having done some volunteering in a leadership centre in the south of England, I decided that I wanted to build something like that, a place where young people who are interested in social and environmental causes can participate in projects in the real world. But I want to do it in South America and build something that could make an impact while creating a place for the next generation of leaders in a world that we need so much right now, with so much going on. We need people who are inspirational, positive, and forward-thinking about how we can support and try and make a more equitable world. So we were able to find a piece of land nearby the city of Guaranda, where I was working in 2018. And we have started this project almost 5 years now. We've been running, and it's a huge privilege and a pleasure to be here. Atandao is the village that we're based in, with a spectacular view of Chimborazo volcano, which is the point on Earth closest to the sun, at 6,350 meters above sea level. It's a rural town about 20 minutes outside of the capital, Guaranda. Very peaceful, very relaxed. As you can see, some beautiful landscapes, especially if you're some of the people we get from Holland or the Netherlands, very flat, very much enjoy having some beautiful mountains here in the Andes. Lots of hiking, lots of opportunities. You can climb on Chimborazo and easily get above 5,000 meters. So lots to do. The people here are very warm, very welcoming, and there's lots of cultural celebrations through things like Carnival, which is every February, and lots of indigenous communities as well. So it's a great opportunity for cultural exchange. But there's also lots of challenges. So here in the region that we're at, there's 40% poverty, 48% child malnutrition, in some communities as high as 80%. Teenage pregnancy is around 26%. 95% or more of the native forest has been destroyed in the region, which leads to lots of issues around water shortages that we usually have later in the year, as well as the biodiversity loss and water contamination as well. And all of these challenges lead people, especially young people, to feel like there's not much of a future here. And so there's a very high rate of migration. And the 15 and 20% who've left just since COVID, that's kind of an estimation speaking to the neighbors, because while a lot of people leave to the cities, there's a lot of people who leave without documentation to go to the United States, which is expensive, dangerous, and not necessarily the American dream that everyone would hope. And with the current administration, the migration has dropped a lot because it's a lot more difficult to get into the US. But if anything, that even highlights even more the need to be able to develop projects that can help improve the quality of life for local people. So that's where we come in, or at least we do our best to do that here at El Terreno. So our mission through our Cultural Exchange Center and our foundation is that we envision a more sustainable and abundant world made possible by the integration of the best local and indigenous wisdom and modern innovations from around the world. I guess for me, in terms of the philosophy, right, that myself living in the UK, I felt quite disconnected from the land and disconnected from a sense of identity. And so even though I had maybe the material comforts that made life easy, I was lacking a sense of meaning. And by coming here and getting to know the indigenous cultures and indigenous worldview, it's been really important for me to be able to get more of a sense of how people can live closer to the land and live closer to their heritage. And you know, while we may have a lot of the material comforts in the Western world or in the global North, we are certainly not doing it sustainably. So while we want everybody to have access to those public services and the security that is often in our home countries, there's also a lot that we're missing. And indigenous wisdom, indigenous worldview can help us reconnect in that way. And that's a really important point of why I'm here and why it's important to preserve the communities and the cultures where we're based. And so our mission, based on all of that, is to create more vibrant, prosperous, and regenerative communities where migration is a choice, not a necessity. Going back to what I was saying about the high rates of migration, very important that we can do all of that. And that is really what we work in, day out. We have 3 different programs. We've got our volunteering program, which is for people who come and help with the cooking and the cleaning and the manual tasks here in the center. Our internship programs, which I'm going to talk a little bit more now, and associates. That's more for people who've got a few years experience working in marketing, business development, finance, and they help you organize organization in their growth. So the internship program is the only one where people are working like directly with community. We have created a program where people maybe have been in university, recently graduated, but what they really need is to get some hands-on experience in their career, put it into practice, um, while at the same time being able to develop your resume, giving you more future job opportunities, and start building your career. Cultural immersion. We live in a village in the Andes. It's one of the least recognized places in terms of tourism. There are a couple of other volunteer organizations that come through the Peace Corps and stuff like that, but um, you're spending more your time day in, day out, especially here in the villages, really getting to know the local people, the local cultures, how they live, and their way of life. And you get to lead real world projects and real world impact. So you're making a difference in these communities and helping to improve their lives. What this program is not, so it's not short-term volunteering. There's some other programs where you're going in for just a couple of weeks. This is more where people really invest a more significant amount of time to make a longer-term impact and making sure that we're really meeting the needs of communities and not just helicoptering people in and maybe even doing more harm than good. It's not a luxury holiday. While we like to think our accommodation for volunteers has got all of the basics that you need, go through that in a little bit. We are looking for people who are committed. They're committed to the work. They're willing to step outside of their comfort zone and really meet local people where they're at in terms of, their way of life. So it's not a five-star hotel. It's a real experience here. And also, this isn't for people who need hand holding or they're just looking to shadow people. What this means is you're going to be leading projects, you're going to be taking the initiative, and you have support along the way through coordination and mentoring, but you're the one who's doing the work. You're the one who's making this happen, and you're the one who's making the impact. We've got a design thinking methodology that we use throughout our projects, which helps to make sure that we really meet the needs of local people. This came out of Stanford University and has been used in a variety of settings, and we've adapted it as a participatory methodology here in the program we run. The first stage is empathizing, really getting to know local people, speaking to the different stakeholders. So those are the schools, health centers, nurseries, community leaders, those people who work closely with the beneficiaries that we want to support. And we do a series of interviews, understanding the context and developing that knowledge so that you're really being able to look at it through their eyes rather than through just coming in and imposing our own perspectives. Once we've done that and we've engaged them in different workshops and activities, we work on defining the problem. What is the main challenge that these local people are facing, and how can we work with them to be able to try and find a solution? So lots of brainstorming and beginning to focus in, because a lot of these issues are very complex and very multi-dimensional. So we will help you to focus those energies. Often these workshops take place alongside the local people. And once we've done that, we've discovered what the main problem is, then we're going to focus on the solutions. And this is part of the design thinking methodology of doing a huge brainstorm of all of the possible solutions and working together to create something that is really lasting. But instead of building one big project and working on it for months and testing it out and finding it doesn't work, we do a little test. We test on a small scale. We see if it's going to meet the needs of the local people. And once we've got that validated, then that's when we want to scale it and make more impact. So that's a quick overview of how the participatory methodology that we use is, and we'll be able to talk a little bit more about the projects that are happening right now. Where do you fit into the bigger projects? So as I said, we've got the Cultural Exchange Centre, which is where we run our programs, and then we've got a small charity that we get a few regular donors, and it's also where interns can raise a little bit of extra money. The idea of your internship is that you're focused on developing the research, so really understanding what the needs of the local people are and compiling that together to create a really clear picture of the needs, and then working on a pilot project that can demonstrate something that is effective. And then the goal, once your work is finished, is not that it just leaves there. Our aspirations, we're still a young organization, but is to take the work that you do and build that and look for ways to create legacy and create long-term impact even after you've left. So that is the goal of the charity. So as I mentioned, we started all of our programs in 2021. We started our internship program in 2022. Since then, we've had over 140 interns, many different themes. We work in architecture, journalism, gender, engineering, community water projects, reforestation, education, agriculture, medicine, so many different things. Because at the end of the day, everything is connected in one way or another. Yeah. For example, the deforestation that takes place on top of the hills destroys the local ecosystem. So reforestation for those habitats is essential. That will help to increase the water supply, which will mean that communities have enough water to get through that period of the year. But it's not just that is the issue, there's the water contamination. So when they've got cows and potatoes, which have got, unfortunately, bacteria and parasites going into the water supply, then that's affecting the health of young people, which is part of the high rates of malnutrition that you see in communities. So there's a health aspect linked to that. But not just the health and creating clean water. We need to educate people in order to do that. And, you know, unhealthy children, unfortunately, aren't able to finish their education, which is going to limit their economic opportunities. So everything at the end of the day is interconnected in one way or another, which is why we've got a very wide range of themes. But we work in a very small geographical region of just about 4 or 5 communities. So this summer, what are our focuses? So we've already got some people who are coming this summer, which we're really excited about, developing and continuing projects. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time talking about them, specifically looking at the architecture and sustainable construction, gender equality and reproductive health, and journalism and creative writing. So looking at the architecture, what's the challenges in the local region? There's a lot of really beautiful old houses made out of rammed earth and other traditional techniques using natural materials. But unfortunately, over the last 50 years or so, a lot of those cultures and heritage has been lost. The main reasons is that concrete and cement has been introduced to the area, and obviously a lot of people living in poverty need to find homes that are affordable to them. And while building with natural materials, obviously you don't need to buy cement, you're using earth and stuff like that, but it takes a lot of physical labor and a lot of time. So building with metal and with concrete is much quicker, and so therefore it's a preferred solution. Even if the buildings themselves are less earthquake resistant, they're colder in general, they don't breathe as much. Adobe walls really breathe, so it helps reduce the issues around moisture and humidity, and those other issues as well. Another big thing for local people is that people consider using cement and concrete a modern material, right? So even though for many people who come and visit here, the single skin breeze block, cinder block houses with metal roofs don't seem so good, and they don't last nearly as long as some of these adobe buildings, which are up to 200 years old. Local people here also have that perspective, which is part of the challenge, right? To be able to understand what local people's needs and perceptions are, and so in a similar way to make sure that whatever we create really meets their needs. And then also, you know, through the loss of these houses, there's the loss of cultural heritage, and there's the loss of these quality houses that can stay a lot longer. So all of these issues we need to take into account when we're building our projects. What have we been doing? The progress so far, we've been working on Gina's house. So this is a local neighbor who's had a rammed earth house of over 100 years old that was being completely abandoned. Luckily, the condition of the house was in really good condition. And so therefore we've been able to work on that. And it is literally, I was just down there before this call. We are now at the stage where we're going to be starting to book people in, and this is going to be income for a local family so that they don't have to move away and migrate, which unfortunately has happened with all of the other 8 siblings of Gina, just because there's not so many opportunities here. But what we've done is we've transformed this house into a beautiful living space for people who are visiting to get an experience of the local culture while creating income for the family. Casa Vernacular is also a really interesting project. This is on this basis that people are creating really low cost but low quality housing, and we're looking to see if we can create something that is to the same standard or higher, but at a cheaper cost using natural materials. And so we've been working since September last year to work on the designs, and we've almost now got that validated with the community. We have our designs and the structural principles. So we need work to take this forwards and start thinking about the actual building of our first building. And finally, Magnolia is a building that's here on site. And so what we're doing here is this is the building that I'm in now. Here you can, behind me, you can see some adobe bricks, and that's an opportunity for interns to learn more about natural paints and materials as part of their program. What are the kind of main activities that we run here? So everyone can have the opportunity to work on a design project if they so wish, whether something that we're already building or something else in the community. There's lots of people who are looking for help. And so you get the opportunity to work with local people and really develop that client architect relationship. Hands-on building, as you can see in this photo, there's lots of different natural materials, natural techniques that you can get involved in. And we've got mentors who can show you how to do that. Site visits to other communities, other projects where they're using different materials so you can get more inspired and visit more places. And finally, community interviews to get to know local people's needs and wants as part of this process. Gender is the second topic that we're really focusing on this summer. So there's lots of issues around teenage pregnancy, unfortunately, a lot to do with education, access to resources and taboos. Young people really aren't educated. They don't know how to look after themselves. And obviously, living in a low income community, if you're sometimes as young as 12-year-old girl getting pregnant, that means you're going to be dropping out of school and you're really going to be stuck in a cycle of low income and dependence on your partner in order to provide for you economically, and there's not going to be many opportunities for you. There's also high rates of child mortality in the region, which is really unfortunate. Some of that is to do with the trust of the local healthcare. There's lots of reservations, especially within indigenous communities, about healthcare due to the unequal distribution of power that can be there. And Ailey and Robin will shortly be able to say a little bit about their experience, what they've seen in the hospitals about mothers' fear about having C-sections, which would then affect their ability to recover and therefore be able to work in the fields after they've given birth. And then there's also issues around empowerment. There's not many future career opportunities for women, especially if they do finish school. Going to universities is difficult. Even if some of the universities are free, there's the opportunity lost that they're not able to go straight into work, and means that they don't have as high aspirations or they don't feel empowered to be able to do so. And there's other inequalities in terms of power dynamics in relationships, especially as you see in the communities there. What's the progress that we've done so far? We've done a variety of workshops on reproductive health, especially in local schools, to make sure that the children are educated about not just the biological health, but issues around consent, around domestic violence, and trying to approach these issues while the children are young and they can still learn before they get set in any particular ways. Indigenous midwifery is the project that we're working on at the moment. Personally, something that I'm really inspired by. There are Indigenous midwives who do a lot of home births, but there's challenges because they're not often fully recognized or appreciated by the health system, and there are some complications that can take place in birth, such as preeclampsia, that can cause some really serious complications, then they need access to the hospital. So we've been working, I'll maybe let Ailey and Robin talk a little bit more about what they've been doing. But we're going to be continuing that project into the summer, and we'd love anyone who's interested in that area to take part. Nutrition is a big issue. You know, obviously, if you're a mother looking after your kids, you need to make sure that you are going to be nourished while you're pregnant, and once you've given birth, you need to make sure that your children are well fed. And so we've been working in the local nurseries with mothers around nutrition and also personal empowerment, again, going into schools and empowering young women through different courses and projects to try and get them to think about what they want to do with their futures. The gender project involves a lot of time speaking to local stakeholders, both mothers, Indigenous midwives, people from the health professionals, to find out the issues from many different perspectives, working on the logistics of developing projects. And we've already done a lot of work to get it to a point where we're doing these different site visits. So going to multicultural birthing centers and other places with different beneficiary groups to try and inspire and try and look for a way forward. Journalism. So this is something else. We've got a few interns coming to join us this summer. There's a lot of people in rural communities that really don't have a voice, and they're really unable to share their story or feel heard by the world, so they often feel quite silenced. And also with globalization and with migration, there's a loss of culture and history. So being able to document those is something that's really important for cultural preservation. What have we been doing up until now? There's various interns who have come to work on mini documentaries on culture, on the importance of water, and many more. Photography exhibitions, as you can see here, Luisa, the blonde in the photo. So she put together some photos from around Ecuador and went to the Casa de Cultura and left an exhibition there for a few weeks. And also storytelling. We've had interns who have looked into some of the historical stories, write their own stories, and turn them into something visual. So someone's done a couple of murals on the local schools as well, based on the issues around water and migration. What's involved here in journalism, again, there's lots of community engagement, being able to speak to local people, tell their stories, tell about their lives, highlight some of the issues that they're facing, and really get to know people intimately. This can be through photography, filmmaking, writing, animation. There's many different mediums that you can do this through. And we've got different mentors who've got those specialities. And then at the end, presenting your work to the public, publishing it, doing some screenings in Guaranda and also in the community themselves. So that's an idea of the projects. Now let's talk a little bit more about what's actually included within the program itself. So we understand that many people who come are looking to develop their career. There's the opportunity to work alongside a bilingual coordinator. So that's myself and Christian. We know how to engage communities. We know how to develop projects, and we'll support you to do that so you're able to gain those skills and put it directly into practice. Specialist mentoring. So depending on what area you're working in, whether it's journalism, whether it's gender, whether it's architecture, or any other of the themes that we work on, there's the opportunity to get an hour a week of a specialist mentor who can give you that support. Stakeholder collaboration, especially over the last 6 months or so, we've been working extensively with government, ministries, with other NGOs, and with different community stakeholders, and that's really helping to enhance the work that we do, enhance the impact, and you get that opportunity to work alongside these other professionals, which gives you a lot more of a nuanced and professional understanding of how to do so. We organize different site visits to go and visit communities and projects where there is the opportunity to learn about what works. And at the end, you'll get a certificate of completion and a personal written reference to help you with the next steps in your career. We've also got an alumni community for those who've completed, where we share future opportunities, and that's something we want to focus on to develop even further in the coming months and years. Lots of cultural immersion opportunities. The orientation and tours, when you arrive, you're going to learn about the projects, you're going to learn about the community in this rural area. So it's a really authentic opportunity to get to know communities as they live on a day-to-day basis. There's language exchanges in Guaranda every week, which is a great opportunity to meet new people, socialize, have some fun while developing your Spanish. Shared meals, we invite one of the participants to cook something for the rest of the volunteer community that we have here every Wednesday, which is a really nice way to have some cultural exchange. Spanish classes are available as well as family homestays if you want to practice your Spanish, get to know the local culture, and have some privacy with your own room. In terms of making an impact, these are real world projects. They're not theoretical. These aren't projects that we just make up out of nowhere, don't really serve the communities. We're really trying to make an impact with the local population. We've got the participatory methodology that we mentioned earlier, new tools and skills. So we've got different tools that we can show you, whether it's learning how to budget and fundraise, whether it's looking at how to do stakeholding mapping and understand how projects works, whether it's the monitoring and evaluation. We've got many different things, which in a very short space of time, you can get a little taste of them so that as you develop your career, you're able to learn about them. Community impact, working in some of these communities are 90% indigenous. As I said, there's high rates of poverty in rural areas and really in need of support in this region that there is not a lot of it. And then presentations at the end, in terms of doing final presentations, both to the community and to a wider international audience. So it's giving you that public speaking experience as well. In terms of the logistics, all of the pre-arrival support. So when you get here, you're nice and comfortable. We've got accommodation. This is our volunteer house. This was pretty much at the beginning when we finished it. There's now a lot more plants and a wood burning stove there in the corner. So it's a very comfortable space to be. Weekday lunches, Monday to Friday, so that you can focus on your project and meet most dietary requirements. Well-being support as needed. Workshop materials. So when we're running these different ideation, design thinking workshops, there's materials for that. And free time recommendations. So there's so much to see in Ecuador. It's the most biodiverse country in the world. So if you don't mind doing a bit of traveling, you could spend a weekend on the coast, a weekend in the Amazon, a weekend climbing volcanoes. And if you'd like to get picked up by a car from the airport, we can arrange that. There's only a few more places available this summer. So if you're interested, I encourage you to get in touch with us. The normal price is $250 per week. But until the 1st of April, the price is just at $220 per week. So if you're interested in this, please get in touch with Christian as soon as possible to arrange a discovery call, a one-to-one call with me, so that you can find out more about the program and we can design it around your needs. So that's the next step. If you're interested, you get to have that conversation with me as soon as this week or next week to talk about more what you'd like to be doing this summer. Then once we've done that, we will put together an internship plan, which will discuss all of the things that we've talked about, but formally send it to you so you can review it, reflect about whether it's the right opportunity for you. Then if you'd like to come, you simply place your deposit and we will help you prepare, get ready for an adventure in the Ecuadorian Andes this summer. So I think that's everything from me. Thanks very much for your attention. I will now pass it back to Christian and the rest of the guys.
Thank you so much, Joshua, for that overview of our programs for this summer. It's always exciting to see how these projects align also with the mission of El Terreno of co-create a long-term impact. So now we want to hear directly from the people who are making all these projects happen on the ground. And we have two incredible guests with us today. So please, maybe Eilid and Aranza, can you introduce yourself, please? Where are you from? What are the projects? Where are you working? And yes, maybe let's start with you, Aranza, and after Eilid. You are on mute. Aranza, estás en...
Okay. Now? Okay. Okay. Perfect. Sorry. Hi, my name is Arancha. I'm from Spain. And now I am working in a house. I am architect, so my pasantía is about architecture. But also I work in other projects a little bit. But basically, I'm working in a house and in the solar panels project. Is a project with another foundation from USA, and we can put solar panels in. I remember four schools and one central medical, and also here in Quilico House is the name of the place where the volunteers uh, sleep and work and eat. And also, I am working in the Quilicos project. It's about the extensions for the house because the terreno need more help and need more space for the people that came here.
Thank you so much, Aranza, for this introduction. Right now, Ailey, can you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, my name's Ailey. I come from Scotland. I've been working on the Gender Equality Project for around about 10 weeks now. At the moment, we're focusing on maternal health in the nearby village of San Juan de Jurundongo. So we've been collaborating with a lot of stakeholders from the area, such as Indigenous Quechua midwives from the village and representatives from the local healthcare centre from the nearest hospital in the nearby town of Guaranda, some people from the Ministry of Health and community representatives, so quite a large crowd. We've been working with mothers and interviewing mothers from the community as well. A lot of our project kind of centres around the balance between Indigenous Quechua medicine and maybe Western modern medicine. So I think, as Joshua briefly mentioned in his presentation, there's a kind of lack of trust from some people in the community regarding modern medicine and the idea of the hospital, and particularly because we're focusing on maternal health, giving birth in the hospital setting, as well as there being a lack of information and decent access to the hospital. For example, if you live in a very, very rural area, it might be difficult for an ambulance to reach you, and it might take quite a long time to reach the hospital. But on the other hand, we want to really maintain the importance of the traditional Quechua practices. For example, we've learned a bit about Quechua birthing methods and vertical births, and the work of the local community midwives, which is perhaps sometimes underrepresented and not quite as appreciated as the official bodies of health, but who do really valuable work with the community members. So it's all about kind of encouraging a collaboration between all of those different stakeholders so that women can have safer and more culturally appropriate births.
Thank you so much, Ailid, for this introduction, also for to the project. So thank you both. Aranzazu, let's start with you from a professional perspective. I will first of all do the question in English and after in Spanish so that you can answer in Spanish if you prefer. So my first question is, as an experienced architect, what motivated you to step away from traditional practice to immerse yourself in a vernacular building techniques here in the Ecuadorian Andes? Entonces la pregunta es, como una arquitecta con experiencia, ¿qué te motivó a salir un poco más allá de la práctica tradicional de la arquitectura y meterte de lleno en la construcción vernácula aquí en los Andes ecuatorianos? Estás en mute, Aranza.
Because in the first time, the motivations was about the experience, not about for me to improve my career or something about the architecture, no? But after, because this week I final my pasantía, uh, after 3 weeks, the construction here is not only um, about um, um, the build your house. No, it's no about a necesidad. What do you say? Necesidad in English?
Necessity.
Necessity is not about necessity. It's about something for the community, for the what the people live here. Uh, their house is an extension for the family. It's a extension for the community, for their life. And I think this is the most important. And here, you don't use uh, the same materials like you use in Europe or in the big city. Use an organic materials. You can make the thing with your hands, and is something more um, special. You can build something with other people, also with the property of the house. Now, in the last week, I can build with Gina in her house, and it's like really special to did this with her.
Gracias, Aranzazu. Thank you so much. And another question before passing to Elid. In your opinion, Aranza, what's the best part of doing an internship here in Ecuador at El Terreno compared to any other experience? En tu opinión, ¿cuál es la mejor parte de
I
hacer una
understand.
pasantía?
Yes.
Yeah, great.
uh, for me, the best thing is here is a little community, so you can live with the people. Here you can know the culture. You also know other people from Europe in this case, because in my case, all the people I are from the rest of the Europe. I am the only Spanish, and it's a little bit difficult for the language, but I think the best part is you can know the culture. We went the last week. We went to Guaranda. Is the bigger uh, city, more or less, near than Atangadawa, and we went to learn salsa. All the people that live in Quilico here, and you can spend your time not only with the Ecuadorian people, you can spend a lot of time with the other uh, people that live in Quilico. And for me, it's really special the relationship that you can uh, start in a few weeks, because now I am a little sick, and all my um, partners come here and say, "Okay, Arancha, you are okay. You need something," and I think that is like a little family here. And I think it's the best because it's a little community. Also, the Ecuadorian people, you can know the culture, and you also have a little family here.
Thank you so much, Aranza, for sharing all this experience. I hope you will recover quickly. and now, Eli, focusing on your experience in the gender program. My first question to you, Eli, is how has working on the gender equality project helped you develop professional skills that you couldn't get in a classroom, for example?
Well, I think for me personally, one of the most important things about an internship like this was that it would give me an opportunity to work directly with local people instead of just maybe learning about them in a kind of slightly removed context or researching or whatever it would be in a kind of abstract way. I think it's really valuable that for our maternal health project, we actually kind of go out and visit the stakeholders and we do activities with them and we see a lot of them. And I think also tying into something Aranta said about building relationships with local people is that we have worked for weeks with people like Joaquina, who's an Indigenous midwife, and Piedad, who's from the community of San Juan, and people from the healthcare centre and the hospital. And we've kind of got to know them and built up relationships and trust, not just between us, but maybe between the stakeholders as well, which I felt was personally really valuable. And for myself as an individual, I just liked the kind of go out there and do it aspect where we were actually working directly hands-on every day with local people. I think for me that the people community aspect was the most valuable.
Thank you so much, Ailey. Can you share a specific moment or interaction with the community that made you feel like your work was creating a real impact?
Well, I think because a lot of the maternal health project is kind of centering around the the relationship and the balance and the kind of trust or sometimes maybe lack of trust between Quechua indigenous people and their medical practices and also the kind of public health bodies and kind of official Western modern medicine with hospitals and stuff. Um, for me personally, it kind of sounds like a small thing, but several weeks ago we ran a stakeholder group, focus group, with our key stakeholders like an Indigenous midwife, a community representative, somebody from the hospital in Guaranda, the nearby town. And we basically, what we did is presented all our findings, our research, all our ideas, and then kind of turned it over to them and said, what do you think is the best way that we might be able to move forward? And I think going into that was slightly, I wasn't quite sure of how it would be because of the kind of deep-rooted, difficult relationship, but actually it turned out really productively, and some of them even exchanged phone numbers. And it was just really nice to see the kind of general amiable atmosphere between them and the respectful, trustful working relationship that maybe we're helping to create. Because I think long term, after I leave, I want something tangible to come out of it all. And I think even if I can help in, by building a better relationship and between the community and the idea of the hospital and the healthcare centre, I think to me that was really encouraging to see.
Thank you so much, Ailid, for sharing that all that with us. Now we have a very special guest with us today. Zoe is joining us this summer, and will be starting her internship with us, yes, very soon. So it's great to have you here. Before maybe we'd love to hear from you. So as you prepare to join us in the Andes, maybe what are your main hopes and goals for your internship this summer? What are you most excited to work on? And since we have also Aranzazu and Eilit here with us, maybe do you have any question, a specific question for them about their daily life, of their projects, El Terreno?
Yes, so I am mainly looking forward to getting to speak with a lot of the local Ecuadorians and specifically figuring out ways to document some of their stories, specifically with women. And I'm looking forward to doing the homestay so I can improve my Spanish. I study Spanish at school, so I'm really looking forward to that aspect and also being in a close-knit community as you guys have described. I think it's really cool that you do workshops and are able to cook for each other as well. And yeah, I'm also looking forward to getting to know a very biodiverse area and checking out some cool nature spots as well. I hope that I can get outside of the community and also see places outside of Guaranda as well. Um, I guess one of my main questions is when you're communicating with stakeholders and specifically for your gender equality project, since I'm also interested in combining journalism and looking into reproductive justice efforts and what specifically women and community leaders are thinking about, I guess, with sensitive issues such as reproductive health care, what are some of the challenges you face in communicating with stakeholders and specifically women, and how do you overcome them?
Um, well, I think a lot of it kind of comes down to you need to kind of not exactly modify your approach, but you need to be sensitive about who you might be speaking to, which was something I found with just the interviews. I'm not too well versed in journalism, but from my personal experience, um, I think the there's a lot of sensitivity, as you mentioned, um, and you need to kind of balance the views that people might have. And I think another challenge perhaps is that when it comes to kind of concrete information and concrete facts, it's a bit tricky to find them. So like you might speak to one person who says like, oh yes, in the community there's very high danger for mothers, which is why all mothers should go to give birth in the hospital, and the hospital is definitely the best place for everyone to be. And then you could have an interview with somebody else who says, no, there's no problem here. Mothers are safe giving birth at home. There's no need to involve the hospital. So you do get a lot of opposing worldviews um, just in the stakeholder group of the kind of local women. And it's sometimes tricky to balance that, in my experience anyway. Um, but I've been pleasantly surprised by some of our major stakeholders who have kind of gone to focus groups and visits with us, and how well they've kind of gotten along between themselves as individuals. So it's a sensitive topic, but I do think there is something to get out of it regarding kind of the differences in how people might view it.
Great. Thank you so much, Haley, for sharing that. So we will finish this meeting. So thank you so much, Aranzazu and Ailey, Zoe, Robin, and Joshua for sharing your histories, your goals with us today. It's truly inspiring to hear all you say during this meeting. And also, I want to thank everyone watching. Thank you for your time and your questions. We hope that this session gave you a clear picture of what life at El Terreno is like. So maybe, Joshua, you want to say any final comment for for closing this meeting.
Thank you, Christian. First of all, thank you everybody for coming. Really great to have all of you here. Zoe, we're really looking forward to having you this summer. And Robin is also going to be here all the way through to the summer. We were just having a chat this morning about his interest in writing and that sort of stuff. So you guys, I'm sure, will be spending some time together. The projects that Aranza, Ailey, you've been working on have been great, and I'd love, we've already got people coming to work on these specific themes, but it'd be great to have more people. So even if you're curious and you'd like to learn more, please put yourself in contact with Christian and arrange to have a call. There's no commitment, just to find a little bit more, and you can ask me some questions directly. So I think I'll leave it there. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and great to have you.
Great. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day. And we hope to see you in Ecuador very soon. So, goodbye.
Hasta luego.